Hello again everybody, Neon here. Before I get this video started, I just want to say thanks for such a huge response to my last set of videos for Steven Universe. You know, that multi-theory video I did? I honestly didn't expect to get such a huge response from you guys. Especially from me, since most of the content I do put up here don't really make it to the 100 view mark that often. So seeing this in the thousands right now is simply mind-blowing, and it's still growing. So thank you guys for that, really appreciate it. This is also rather interesting too. Not only do people give their own thoughts to my theories, but they've been sharing quite a few of them on my own channel too. So for this video, it's not exactly a theory video, if not a theory video discussion. Taking a number of theories from the Steven Universe community and giving my own 2 bits on it. I'm not going to share what I think happened for some. Like I said, I've made a video about that already. As with those, I'm not going to confirm them as fact or completely faked either, and I'll give credit to them as they go along. So with that said, let's start off with one subject that has gone around for quite a while. Pearl's true owner. The idea behind who Pearl's owner was became a common theory amongst the community that was mainly pointed to 3 different candidates: White Diamond, Pink Diamond, and Rose Quartz. At first, many people had agreed that Rose Quartz was Pearl's owner for obvious reasons. Soon, though, other options began to show up. From one episode, it could have been great when we first see the White Diamond mural, and later on, when we return to the moon base, we get more information about Pink Diamond in Back to the Moon. However, the question remained: which one holds the most evidence? For this, I'm going to discuss each and every option and see how much water they actually hold, as it were. The first option, and admittedly the obvious one for many people, is our very own Rose Quartz. From the beginning, we already knew that Pearl worked for Rose long before we knew about the diamonds at all, and it was easily accepted on all things considered. We've seen throughout the show how close the two actually were, being together since the very beginning of the rebellion, which was the earliest purge we got at this point in time. Rose even says herself,
"My Pearl, you're wonderful."
Evidence is pushed even further with Eyeball Ruby making the remark in the episode Bubbled.
"You're gonna give me my own Pearl!"
So, that should wrap things up, right? Rose is Pearl's owner, case closed. Well, not entirely. Here's the thing, we don't exactly know how the two actually met. The earliest purge we got is from the two in the Answer, and they were already rebelling against the Diamond Forces. Even with Eyeball Ruby's remark, without knowing how the pearls are distributed, this could just be Eyeball Ruby just excited in the moment. Is Rose's Pearl's love interest? Yes. Is Rose Pearl's true owner? It's still unclear at this time. Our next candidates for Pearl's true owners lies within the highest authority, and the opposite side of the coin, one of the diamonds. First we have White Diamond. When we saw the pearls owned by Yellow and Blue Diamond, we can note that they match up to them pretty well in appearance. So it can be stood up to reason that White Diamond's pearl would be ours, right? Well, as far as evidence goes, that's pretty much all we've got for that, so there isn't really that much to really support when it comes to this. Then there's the latest diamond, Pink Diamond. The evidence pointing to Pearl having her as her owner is a bit more so than with White Diamond. Despite her gem placement, Pearl has shown to have more pink in her design rather than white, especially when we see her earlier designs. But there's more to it. In fact, its best evidence was actually shown in and could have been great, when we see the moon base for the first time. While the episode also sparked the idea of WD being Pearl's owner, but have a look here.
We still need the cluster's exact coordinates in order to drill!
There's a diamond base that may hold that information, but getting there is going to be difficult.
How come?
Because it's not accessible by warp pad. And it's on...
The moon!
This was a diamond area, mind you, and recently found out belonging to Pink Diamond during her reign, so how could Pearl know of such a place and so easily? Looking back and comparing all 3, we can make this sort of conclusion. It would have been interesting for White Diamond to own Pearl, though in canon, there's too much lack of evidence to make it as plausible. When looking at Rose, her involvement to rebel in the first place would have her detest owning a Pearl in the first place, so that wouldn't make much sense either. So, in the end, Pink Diamond has the most evidence and seems like the most likely candidate in this regard. So, there's my bit on that matter. Speaking of Pink Diamond, this sort of debate is a much more recent one that has spawned up in the community, and coincidentally, it also involves Pink Diamond. In particular, her being shattered. This was a very big event, and the one that started the gem war in the first place. This is one of those subjects that only the main theorists seem to put into question, and the mainly goes down to how it seems so out of place for Rose Quartz. Such a kind and friendly soul, and yet ABZU says she was the one that killed Pink Diamond.
I watched the leader of the Crystal Gems Rose Quartz shatter Pink Diamond!
Other options are actually rather low, and they only got thinking on it when other theorists pointed it out. The overall idea was that Rose possibly didn't shatter Pink Diamond, but someone else. As far as who might have finished PD off, from what I understand, two options came up. The first option, actually, is our Pearl. Bit ironic considering our previous discussion. This idea was pointed out from the channel The Round Table, a channel often discussing many sorts of Steven Universe predictions, reviews, and theories. One of these included the idea that Pearl might have finished PD off, not Rose. I'll leave a link in this video in the description, but the overall idea was that Pearl had enough of a motive and ability to defeat any diamond, let alone Pink Diamond. Another theory, and a lot more recent, actually came from a YouTube commenter. We'll call him Harley. So, Harley brought up another interesting and actually more plausible candidate for actually killing Pink Diamond. Bismuth. Harley's theory goes as follows. ABZU says that Rose shattered Pink Diamond, and we know that between the moon base and the sad floating training ruins, between these things being built, Pink Diamond disappeared. Whether it is from being shattered, corrupted, hiding, or even taking Rose aside to her in the rebellion. So in revisiting the Bismuth episode, Bismuth missed out on most of the fight when Rose bubbled her, assumed to be after Bismuth showed Rose the breaking point. So here's the theory. We have seen Bismuth shapeshift, it comes so naturally to her. Put that together with her hatred for Homeworld and aristocratic gems, such as Pink Diamond, the fact that she said the breaking point could shatter any gem in the galaxy. What if Bismuth was the one that shattered Pink Diamond? That would leave Rose innocent, the rebellion moves forward, and Rose, disgusted by this, bubbles her and tells no one, letting all believe that it was her who shattered Pink Diamond. I like to also add that this is Harley's first theory, and admittedly, it is more believable and plausible than most would think. Bismuth is a violent gem. She has enough ferocity and power to shatter a gem, and has the very weapon to actually do so. Once more, and something not mentioned but I feel like it should be, rubies aren't too smart. ABZU was there and saw it herself, yes, but this is the same gem who thought amethyst was jasper despite her being purple rather than orange. A simple shapeshift could easily confuse the veteran Ruby. So as for what I think when looking at this, I, much like many others, do still think that the Pink Quartz wouldn't have done this kind of act. Not directly, anyway. She can easily lead the charge, but someone else could finish it, and she would still be to blame for leading the charge in the first place. I find this interesting, but what do you guys think of this?